This is some opening logo. It really gets me invested in the feature. First time I saw it, and now. It's largely because of the score, building instruments, tempo, and a crescendo to a magnificent statement of the My Little Pony brand motif. Daniel Ingram's score is largely effective but anonymous, but whenever it's called to do the heavy lifting, it excels.
See the ponies trotting down the street, equestrians where they wanna meet.
Isolated, I don't mind the pony remix of We Got the Beat, but that it undercuts the opening establishing shot's beauty. What is this, a Nickelodeon movie? The logo score is reused in the credits and continues past where it cuts off, suggesting an 11th hour change, and when I synced it up to see how it fit, it matched so beautifully it's not even funny. Still, an atrocious song choice isn't enough to rob this of positive karma. This shot was the first proposed and the last completed in production, and it shows. Bravo filmmakers, bravo.
Princess Twilight must have her hooks full with this giant festival. Are you kidding? She's smart and organized and cool under pressure.
All of the film starts off with background ponies giving exposition before meeting our main characters. Not a great step for making this standalone. This film isn't as comedy heavy as the show's early seasons, yet a handful of the jokes have awkward pauses for us to laugh. Mostly the bad ones.
What you talking about?
See? Awkward. The show never does this. Twilight's pitch to use the other princess's magic for improving the festival feels inconsequential even before the invasion. It only serves to establish aspects of Twilight's character that could have been done in a scene that felt more important, and to get a tiny callback at the end. Tiny background things. Feels like a fragment left over from an early draft, when they were just figuring out the story. I mostly disagree with the complaints that the film reduces the characters to their base traits, but there are a few moments of minor regression, like Twilight's old obsessive bouts. When I first saw the film, I had almost zero exposure to Friendship is Magic. We Got the Beat left me kinda detached, until this character introduction gave me the impression these characters had history and made me want to get to know them. It really deserves credit for unobtrusively establishing their personalities offhand. It's not perfect, befitting her underuse, Fluttershy's meekness isn't established much, and Applejack's countryisms are laid on a bit thick, but that it spurred me to watch all 7 seasons in just under 2 months is quite the endorsement. The film resembles the earlier seasons, before its cast expanded and the writing staff changed. Despite the showrunners being forced to place it between seasons 7 and 8, I choose to believe it takes place alongside season 5, when it was written. Twilight was freshly the Princess of Friendship then, so it fits her worry over a new title better for sure. Certainly fits with the characters' personalities at that point, giving lots of nice callbacks to the early stuff.
4 seconds flat. 10 seconds flat. If you were raised in a barn, no offense, Applejack.
None taken. Especially since I wasn't raised in a barn. My family just happens to have a barn, where I was born, and spent most of my formative years. Raised in a barn!
One of my favourite jokes, and they don't give it an awkward laugh-ready pause either. What's this balloon attached to? You think either Spike holding it, or the ribbon around Fluttershy, but it seems to just be floating behind them. We Got This Together, also known as character cameos. But it was wise to dispense with these early. It's like a Hitchcock first reel, getting the cameos out of the way so the fans don't obsess over spotting them, or having the Pizza Planet truck within the first 50 minutes of a Pixar film.
It's time to show 'em what you've got.
It's time to go and get things done.
This is the song most like the show, on account of being a main 7 ensemble, rather than being centered on new characters. It does well in being catchy and grand, and establishing their home comforts before sending them off to see the world, so it's a fine start. Rarity had to take time to perfect the gem aligning earlier, yet the magic of sitting lets her speed it way up.
Guess my easy bake and Betty cake cannon.
Yup, referencing an easy bake oven, because, you know, Hasbro. Too cynical for cartoon karma? Yeah, kind of a cynical joke, so it's all good. Having a character purely to facilitate casting a pop star, it happens. But adopting Sia's stage persona's signature bangs will date the film severely. Pity, given outside of a few memes and references, little dates the film. That Songbird Serenade is barely present speaks to even the filmmakers not wanting her. There's 3 characters I got that feeling with, Grubber and Novo being the others. I do get amusement when you can detect such things, but it's still negative karma. The shading and textures on these airships is hideously conspicuous. They don't need to be CG. They appear in few enough shots throughout that they'd have been better as 2D rigs. Grubber exists for lame wisecracks and to give the Storm Army one speaking character. There's no relationship between him and Tempest, so any comedic chemistry there is a pipe dream. I like his design, but that's it. Eye layering issue. They do fine at only having eyelashes curve around with any character's head. Guess this scar slipped through the cracks. Tempest is quite the villain, by and large deserving all the praise she's received. Menacing but entertaining because of it. She'd be memorable even if she didn't have an arc, in the show's mythos and in general. Some fans don't like that the film sidelines the show's side characters. I get it, the show's built up a great supporting cast. But you know where you can enjoy them? The show. The film's aiming wider while remaining true to its fans. Continuity baggage has its downsides. All things considered, I think they sidelined the side characters as well as they could have without alienating newcomers. And ignoring Discord was wise. Having him involved would raise more questions than it would answer. Why wasn't Muffins, yes, Muffins, hat turned to stone too? The princess's royal regalia were, and no, nothing else to say. I'm too new to this universe to have the connection to Derpy longtime fans do. The body positions of the main 7 flip around illogically between shots. The curious can pause and see if they like. Consider the visual pacing. The pan down the waterfall, the hat floating along, Applejack reclaiming it, and Twilight contemplating. These deliberate pauses for atmospheric and dramatic effect are profound. Even most big budget animations don't do this much, and it's basically unseen in animated TV show adaptations. The filmmakers get how to do cinema differently than television, or even home media films. Applejack better give me your hat. I need one to take off to the filmmakers.
But they're always hungry.
Hungry? Hippos?
You can write dissertations on why the show, and film, is more than a toy commercial, but with lines like that, even the fans can have flashes of doubt. Pinky, Rainbow and Rarity all get to be plot relevant, but you could write Fluttershy out in a flash. Fluttershy is hard to do adventure stories with, true, but better cast balancing was needed. Applejack isn't especially plot relevant, but she gets enough moments and funny facial reactions and shines as the level-headed one. Spike doesn't do much either, but isn't the pushover he was in early seasons, and has enough supportive moments. The cast hierarchy isn't inherently a problem, you get the same with any random episode. But when Fluttershy has fewer lines than the Storm King, not including Sans, and he's barely in the film, we have a problem.
Well, you're not getting all the glory. We're in this together.
We got your back.
Indeedy. I am ready to save Equestria. Yay.
We're all behind you, Twilight.
Film writing has to be tight, no room for lengthy speeches on them having your back, so that their verbal support is as moving as many longer moments in the show's something. Little gestures like Applejack's nod to Rainbow to go ahead first help greatly. As the film's scope and scale goes, it's hit and miss. The world can seem small outside of what matters, but long takes that bookend scenes do a lot to ease us along and establish scale, enhanced greatly by visual splendor never possible in the show. Also, the effect of cutting from a gentle long pan to a power shot of feet marching. The balloons the Storm Guard lets loose represent the main 7, either through mane or body colour. Having echoes of them helplessly flow past Tempest is chilling indeed. This scene really works. While the Storm King needed more screen time, a recurring problem, he mostly dominates when he's around. This scene gives him effective presence throughout, and that's important for a villain.
Make this twig work, and you'll get your reward. Fail me, and your horn won't be the only thing that's broken.
I want the Storm King to fix that crazy horn as badly as you do. It looks like a crackly chipped tooth on the top of your head. And you know you don't look good in hats.
They make a mistake in directly telling us Tempest wants her horn back. Storm King's death threat lets us know enough to get by. All for a lame grubber joke and overly emotive facial animation. While it's odd the film devotes a minute to a near-death desert trek before they spot Kludgetown, the effect produced by a tracking scenery shot, echoing the previous one alongside the lawn takes, does a lot to sell their journey already. The skull literally vanishes when she tosses it. Granted, it would have been off-screen mere frames later, but you can't make this stuff up. Friendship is Magic often pulls weird faces for comedic effect, but this desert fatigue, among other scenes, largely produces unsettling results.
Where there's a road, there's a... Cool.
Not a lip sync issue, since Rainbow dashes off-screen, but given she doesn't see Kludgetown until a few seconds later, it's still a sync issue. props for the film remembering to have visual adventure awe. It's not the most diverse set of locations, but awestruck establishing shots do wonders for the scope beyond Equestria. Spike recovered from his desert fatigue quick. He's not Pinky, her lack of rules don't apply. This bird flying way ahead of the group is captured as soon as it enters Cludgetown, yet they arrive mere seconds after it's caged. On that, the pony's desert fatigue vanishes during their jump into town. Whether all these bipedal creatures that are more anthropomorphized than the show usually goes for bothers one is a matter of taste. I dig it, as it shows how far they are from home. You can tell the artists love cutting loose. I'm fond of the first few minutes of the Cludgetown segment, from their desert trek up until Capper intervenes. It's light on character, but there's some fun in exploring a society so far removed from anything in Equestria before the plot steals the focus and narrows the scope back down. Just because that scope gets invalidated quick doesn't invalidate the wonder it provides. Boring goof karma incoming, the sludge couldn't have gotten all over his front. Yawn. Also, that sludge was nowhere to be seen earlier. They remember it later, so yeah. This one is subtler. That tapir-nosed guy has a clone in the crowd, down to the same backpack, but the copy vanishes when they scatter.
And don't touch anyone, because parts will fall off.
I think most will agree with me that even a joke about, male tools as subtle as this has no place in My Little Pony. Other references and jokes for adults, absolutely, but not innuendos. Capper's song is the only one that largely fails. It's a tango take on the Friend Like Me genre, but little about it makes any impression. Doesn't help its home to some especially awkward prosy lines.
Useful and resourceful too.
Even loving the show's musical style as I do now, some songs can't get past the prosy lyrics.
Y'all sure y'all want the hippos?
Yes, sirree, the queen of the hippos.
Not like the queen of the lions, or tigers, or bears.
Oh my.
This Wizard of Oz reference is one I can get behind, as it's behind the main action, amusing without context, and won't age until cinema dies.
I don't know what kind of scam you're working with Capper and the rest of your friends, but...
Friends?
Beyond Tempest realizing they're with Capper, this moment, when rewatching after knowing your backstory, echoes her past experiences with friendship and how that word's a trigger. The screenplay needed more layering, but there's some to go around.
Oh, Fishman just got dropped!
I hate epic adventures.
If TV Tropes has a page for gags that seem to exist purely for trailer usage, and which feel massively out of context and awkward in the film itself, here's two candidates for the cover image. This is negative karma, not because the sleeve wasn't broken before, but because not showing it before makes this element come out of nowhere. Like Capper being in debt, it comes across as little more than a plot device.
Here's Virgo!
They had it right with the Oz joke. At the window with this overdone, shoved in our faces Shining parody.
My little ponies.
Silly little ponies.
My little pony-wony.
None of these title drops are out of place individually, but when you have 3 in the span of 4 minutes... Characters occasionally running on the background can be a problem in programs like Flash and Toon Boom, so it's a shame a few moments slip through the cracks. These two are all the extras seen during their escape. The town's empty otherwise. Remember what I said about the scope fading after a bit? Capper reforms because Rarity fixed his coat. There's more to it than that, but when that's the stress factor, the writers are just asking for negative karma. 2 it is. Cludgetown's the only location they visit that doesn't feel included to sell toys, as much if it's well outside the demographic Hasbro would pick, being basically the Mos Eisley of the pony world. It's one the writers believed in, giving the promising setup and possibilities early on. Plus, of all the characters they meet, Capper's the one they had the most fun with. He gets the most material compared to the other allies during the last third, but it doesn't inform the film at all once they've left. Capper could have joined any other way, and the rest of the film wouldn't be altered at all. A problem we'll see again, folks. While it may seem the sun and moon still rise and set despite Celestia and Lula being statues, every time it seems to be night is the result of mist or clouds. Fair play.
What do you think, Twilight? Should we just ask them to take us?
Applejack, I love you, Sugar Cube. Honest, I do. But do you see the Storm King's emblem on their uniforms and the crates? You're the sensible one.
Last time we trusted some pony, he tried to sell us.
They just cut to them being found. Feels like there was a removed shot here, even though the production pipeline probably wouldn't have had one.
Alright, that's lunch!
What?
I love how they all have different reactions. Sure, Twilight and Rainbow are baffled in different ways, Fluttershy's timid, and Rarity's repulsed at the gunge, all expected, but Pinky's delightfully prodding it, Applejack's chewing it down with her country iron stomach, and Spike can't reach! Different visual reactions without making a big deal. Always neat.
Your delivery guys?
And gals, these uniforms aren't exactly doing us any favors.
I've done my research, and I have no idea what the joke's supposed to be. It's probably lame. Were it funny, some fan would have posted about it.
Pudding?
There's pudding?
Funny gag, but it begs the question of how Rarity, of all ponies, finished her initial slop so fast. Two of the pirates swap places. Mullet is on Rarity's left before the song, but he swaps with Lick Spittle to Rarity's right once it starts.
Things don't work out quite the way that you thought. Feeling like all your best days are done. Your fears and doubts are all you've got.
Time to Be Awesome is the most fun song, benefiting from a delightfully poppy tune and instrumentation, as well as a vocal ensemble to die for. It's the magic of My Little Pony music, in that by all intellectual rights it should suck, yet it clicks perfectly. It's the most rewatchable for sure. Any reason here earrings on a different ear in the portrait? No? Okay. All the pirates are missing something. Solano's leg, Mullet's eye, Boyle's hand, Lick Spittle's tail end, and Squabble's beak. Yet when they rebel, Solano swaps her wooden leg for a crystal one. By running with an unstressed visual joke, the filmmakers get more out of it. Rarity's propped her forehoof on the balcony here, yet in the sideways shot, she's back to being on all fours. Ignoring more conspicuous CG, the effect where the unfurling ship scatters numerous layers of dust is something to behold, given what it implies about how long they've been like this, and how significant them getting their mojo back is. Seems Pinky tired of holding the idiot ball, and gave it to Rainbow. Despite its fun, the pirate sequence suffers from being rushed. Shame, as their reformation is more credible than Capper's, backed by a great song. The casualty is that since there needs to be pirates, they get little space for personality. 5 is about the smallest number that could reasonably run a ship, but it means that, outside of Solana prioritizing their safety, their blank slates, pity, their designs and voices make a compelling case. Gee, isn't it convenient they swap out their pirate gear they just donned? Would have made more sense to ditch it down in the cargo hold. Not only does Rarity's mouth remain open while she takes a living god's name in vain, but Twilight and Rainbow are missing in the second shot of the descent, despite being there for the first. Twilight's quick thinking gives us an exciting fun moment as she saves them yet again, coupled with the hope of their journey being nearly over. More so, this furthers Twilight distancing herself from the others as a result of them not adapting to the situation. She said,
I've got this.
as opposed to we, didn't explain her plan, and from here until the beach scene, barely communicates directly with the others. The film takes a big risk in keeping this as the subtext until that beach scene, especially for a kids' film. Only improves the layering and rewatch factor. One subtle way the film gives the Storm King effective presence is by having his visage appear in different ways throughout. Apart from the spell, we have the Uncle Sam poster, the Sequestria mural, even his merchandise. Best one is his face on this tarp, giving the hopeful and cheery launch shot as they approach Mount Eris an ominous undertone. Obviously Tempest makes more of an impression, but this visual layering really works. Twilight left the map behind. Does the idiot ball have a little brother? Is it contagious? Both no lip sync and no action sync, she keeps walking normally while saying that.
I simply cannot even.
There's only a few meme moments in this film. Pity it couldn't be none. The pebble Pinky dislodges isn't seen bouncing down. Pinky's mane is wilder than we give it credit for, instantly dry upon surfacing. I'm fond of Applejack's hat following her around outside her bubble, just the kind of silly animation the show specializes in that doesn't need highlighting. The main 7 said it all. Wow. However, Sequestria lacks any real scope. Whether due to runtime or budget, everything past these establishing shots and the song is confined to a throne room. Kind of ironic, they give it law scope in the early Cludgetown part, yet their actual destination, which does matter more, has almost nothing. Doesn't help that, like Cludgetown, it barely matters once we've left. Being a road film where they visit 3 key locations, all 3 have strengths. Cludgetown provides the most entertaining character, the pirates provide the best song, and Sequestria is the most relevant, plot-wise. that helps maintain a thorough line. Yet that also frustrates regarding the undernourished writing, making it near impossible to pick which to shorten if you wanted time for layering elsewhere. That, and given the theme of friendship being magic that can be found and made anywhere, cutting any of these would damage the film. After a lot of time in less colourful locations, though not to the point of appearing dull, Sequestria's palette really pops. These are the kind of visual shades traditional animation excels at on a cinema screen. Why is Nova a queen? Celestia was going to be one until Hasbro decided all royalty should be princesses because animated queens were typically evil, a sentiment supported by Chrysalis. Not remaining consistent, mates. Everyone said it, the transformation doesn't contribute much at all, and the time they spend as sea ponies feels rushed, especially compared to the years of hype the fans have been waiting on sea ponies for. But oh, is it a delight to watch! Transformation scenes often are, and this one soars above any prior, thanks to cinematic production values, namely panning between them rather than separate transformation shots, as the show will be restricted to. Princess Skystar should be a delight, but she's only okay. Her masked lowliness is a fine trait, but next to Pinky and Fluttershy, also cute bubbly characters who have had years to establish depth, she pales. Have I said nothing about the voice cast? It's exemplary. Excellence is expected from the show cast, and they bring it. But the celebrities deliver too, a rarity with stunt casting. Liev Schreiber and Emily Blunt are the standouts there, given what their roles offer them, but bar Sia and her four-spoken lines, no efforts are phoned in. One small thing is fun and thematically relevant, showing that the group's old methods of making friends does work outside of Equestria, despite Twilight's rationality, yet it doesn't quite click. Maybe because it echoes Under the Sea too much. Try as he might, Daniel Ingram can't match the genius of Alan Menken and Howard Ashman. The only words this song can find that rhyme with thing are something and everything, so by the end, it's used thing way too much, even for me. A lot of the saturated underwater backgrounds here get to be too psychedelic, even for My Little Pony. There's a real feeling of dread in this 23-second moment, from the orb blurring the screen to the waves, where we can't know what happened, and the uncertainty is only broken when they surface, and we're hit with the realization they nearly drowned racing to the surface. Again, it takes full advantage of being a film. Even if they let it last this long in an episode, they'd be forced to sanitize the visuals or sound, lessening the impact. This is one of those moments where, in the right mindset in the cinema, you can almost feel yourself leaving your body. Got to show my appreciation. Where's Applejack's hat again? I cannot deny, it's frustrating how most of the opening hour is mere surface level incident with little of the character focused direction the show excels at. It registers with the viewer, but most of it doesn't leave an effect. It's the one disappointment the fans have overplayed I'd agree has merit. Whoa, we seem to be all out of time, folks. Not to worry, the rest of the movie, and my concluding thoughts, can be found over in part 2 below. Take a breather, and check it out, at your own pace. Hope you've enjoyed the video thus far. I've never gone this in depth before, but my debut of pony content justifies it. Whatever the case, have a swell day.